Okay, this is the first time I've talked about my street alien warning in 2017. In my life, I've only told maybe 5, 6 people, maybe 8 or 9 in all these years. And I'll explain it to you. I went up this place, up a mountain, and I was there about 3 o'clock in the morning, and I had a few beers and a couple of whiskies, and I was standing there thinking of how I was going to focus my telescope. And anyway, 2 UFOs appeared, and both of them went northwest. West. And then just vanished. They didn't seemingly travel far, and they just vanished again. It was like they came out of a dimension, and they did that. And anyway, the following year I thought, oh, where I'm going to go on holiday this year, and I had another look at the area, and it looked like an ancient volcano, and the lakes were like ancient past blowholes. So I thought I'll go back up there and go up the top. And I actually got a 4-wheel drive to get up there, and I got up there. I stayed the first night, and that's when I did, if you look at my website, I've done the time clock thing on the ground. I did that the first night, and then the next day is about, I don't know, about 3:30 going on for 4 o'clock in the afternoon, and this place is not the top of a mountain, but it's like a way above a lake, and then there's higher points, but not really that much higher. And then you can walk down. It was like, say 300 meters or 200, maybe 100 meters wide, if that, maybe 80, 60, maybe 60. And it's just like a sort of a clayish, stonish type of terrace that where I was quite flat for say 20 meters, and then it went down, then it curved all the way down. And I went for a walk all the way down there, and to see if I could see over where I grew up. And anyway, I was doing this. I got all the way down there, and I had my camera with me because obviously I was taking photos. And on the way back, I thought, right, now I'm going to go and point my camera at that lake and do a recording and see if any UFOs come in and out of it. That's what I was thinking in my mind. And anyway, I looked up to my left, looking back around at the view, and I saw a UFO, no kidding. It was like, it had to be 100, 120 meters wide. And it was like 2 plates, if you can imagine 2 plates with straight in between, and like columns all the way around the middle. And it just cruised past at about 100 kilometers an hour, maybe a little bit quicker. And then it shot my camera with a blue arc of light, and then it just cruised a little bit more and vanished. Anyway, then I got to back to the car, and I was kind of freaking out, so I opened a bottle of wine, and I was just sitting there sort of thinking, wow, that's the first close encounter of a UFO I've actually seen. And then I looked to my left on my computer, my telescope mount, and there were like 2 red and a blue light on it in a perfect triangle, and I'm like, wow. So I kind of freaked out. So I thought I took the batteries out of it, because if I take the batteries out of it, then they should have a realization that I can't use it. Anyway, I sat back down on the back of my 4-wheel drive, and these wood hens, native birds that I'd been feeding, came over, and they come and pet my leg, and I was giving them rice biscuits. And anyway, this beam, exactly the same beam, drew its head like 180 degrees backwards, like it dragged it backwards on its own feet, and it did it for about 3 meters. And then it let go, and it just ran off into the bush like a bird drag car, I kid you not. And I kind of thought that was exceptionally strange. Then I looked over towards this track to where I was going to do the camera recording, and have you ever seen the Arnold Schwarzenegger movie Predator? Where it's a simulation of you can see it, you can't see it. There's two of them, they're hovering on these board things, and they actually look like reptilian type things. They look greenish, smallish, young, and they said your world might have these one day, but we doubt it, and you might find we're protected and something higher above has something to say to you. And then they sort of arch around, this is like beyond your imagination of is it real or not, and they were gone. So I picked up my glass of wine and had another drink, and I was kind of thinking maybe it's time to get out of here. And then there was this humongous roar to my right. It was that powerful. It hit my flesh, my rib cage, and I felt it go through my organs and smack my back, like something actually physically slapping the inside of your back muscles. And I immediately looked to my right, and then my tendons locked my body. That I was that locked solid. I couldn't move, and what I was looking at was a grey-skinned humanoid reptilian that was absolutely massive and super muscular. Like, this thing could literally bite me to death, smash me to death, like, you're dead in a second. And it said one word: leave. And I couldn't even move to speak. I couldn't even work my jawbone. I couldn't do nothing. I was just tendon, frozen, in sheer fear, feeling my goosebumps blowing the hairs off of my body. It's probably about how you could explain it. And then it said, are you sick of living? And I'm like, well, I've actually got to speak here. And then, I don't know, it was something else, but all of a sudden, my body released. And I went, no, I wasn't going to leave. Why I did that, I don't know. Whether something had control of me, I don't know, but I said no. And I'm not going to tell you all of what it said. I'm going to tell you a lot of what it said. It said to me, you might find this world as a simulation and controlled your human mind and vibration, and no one really knows what it is, and it is absolutely stolen and made from death. And I mean, this creature, if it's not Satan, it looked like it was close. And then it there's a Bigfoot. I heard these people yelling out, Yowie, Yowie. They're obviously Australians staying down the bottom by the lake, and anyone out there get out, anyone out there get out. And I'm like, man, I can't go nowhere. What am I going to do? But anyway, it got there obviously really, really quick from where they were. I smelt it, but I did not see it. And this being, or this, whatever you want to call it, in front of me, it roared at it first, and then it said two words, and it left. And then it said it wants to control all things like that. And I'm like, right, okay. And then I noticed to the left of me was like this orb, like if you can imagine a donut of golden light and plasma light. And it had a great fear of it. It was amazingly, it changed. Its spirituality towards me changed right at that moment. And then it said to me, catch this. and it threw something clean into my brain. I didn't see it, like it wasn't what we think of everything as a solid object. Well, there's a thing called neuron vaporization where matter can be vaporized and you can throw it and it'll turn into matter in so much time. Anyway, I've written right through my whole site about how we actually have soul powers and we can project these things back. So I did that and I threw it straight back at it, and it said to me, I'm only going to live because it has to get that out before it sets. In the meantime, I jumped into the back of the car and I had my hands around my head and I was expecting to get ripped out and all the rest. And then when I got out and gone, and I thought, I'm out of here. I packed up all my gear. I absolutely packed up absolutely everything. And then when I had the whole car shut, I walked around and thought, there's a cord or something on the ground. And then when I went to pick it up, there was fog just moving across the ground. And then when I looked down to where I had to drive, the fog was that thick. There was absolutely no way I was going to see 1 inch in front of me. Not an inch. I walked down towards like up my waist and I'm like, I have to stay here. So I stayed there the night, and I've had some scary nights in my life, but that would top the list. I was just, because it was a light stony area, like you would think nothing could land on it without a sign, a sound and a sign, but I just had my head on the window pillar and I'm thinking this is the wrong place to try and sleep, then put it on the corner pillar. I had like a gas pistol ear rifle in my hand, a handgun in my hand, 18-shot one. Put a man against a creature like that, you're just gonna die. Anyway, the sun came up and I drove out of there. That was 5 years ago, and now, after 5 years of research, and my Bigfoot file will be after this one because Bigfoot followed me after this, but anyway, I'll stick with this. And anyway, what I've learned over that time and having contact with other aliens from other dimensions, I'll tell you about how I see how it is. We are actually in a dimension, and there's a darker dimension below us that the reptilians and other beings are in, although that could also be vibrational technology, which I'll explain. And then there's a dark one below, and could be more darker ones below that. Now what has happened is you can think of the fallen angels, you can think of Satan, whatever, okay? A group of beings before time began as we know it, from a higher dimension of light, managed to contact these beings or have stuff to know with them. And they stole from that dimension and came through to this dimension. And since then, they have been farming life. If you look on my website and if you go to Venus, there's probably 4 recordings at different times that show 5 years ago when it's the closest it's ever going to be to Earth in over 2,000 years. That it is, and it has to be, half a planet. The moon only rotates facing Earth and no other way. Earth itself, I've put on here, could be a half planet. There's a flat Earth theory. I'm not going to say it isn't round. I'm going to say the possibility that it isn't might actually exist. And I've met more than one person in my lifetime that said if you go to certain places in flight, they ask you to put on these glasses because the sun's going to be so bright, and if you lift them you see nothing but the edge of the world's gone. But anyway, that could be many things. I'm not going to go into that. I don't consider these people liars. Okay, so now if you look at Earth and you look at your compost pile, and we take this, that these beings had done an agreement and brought matter here that didn't ever exist here before. And the two ingredients they only ever wanted was a form of plasma and a golden particle within an atom of creation. And if you put your hand in your compost after, say, 3 months, you'll find it's very warm, right? So maybe they grew things in a small area or whatever they decided at that time. And they did this. Then they kept it in a contained place where it could keep growing. What I'm saying is this planet is layered from its very core to the tops of mountains. And anyway, they did this, and it was all layered all the way out. And then before us there were giant trees at, say, the first forming of Earth, and there were giant beings. Bigfoot may be one of them. He might have been much bigger than he was now. Okay, so Earth was actually layered and formed. Like your body becomes part of Earth. Everything you eat becomes part of Earth. All growth becomes part of Earth. Everything we dig is layered, and you dig down to find our past. And what I'm saying is you can dig right to the middle and find the beginning. And they got so far out, and the center became molten lava.